Press Information Bureau or PIB is becoming increasingly relevant in the current examination landscape, not just for prelims, but also for value addition in the mains answer writing. Hello everyone, my name is Rajni Jha. Welcome to PIB Weekly Analysis at Drishti IAS. In today's session, we are going to cover some important news from 15th June to 21st June. Let's have a look at the index first so that you can get some idea as to what we are going to study in today's session. So I'll be picking up news from polity, international relations, science and technology, defense, economy, and environment. Let's see the first piece of news that we have from polity, which is Housing Census and Self Enumeration begins under Census 2027. So the first phase of Census of India, Census 2027, is underway and the field operations have started in Himachal Pradesh. Now, what is Census of India? Census is population count every 10 years conducted in India under Census Act 1948. It is conducted in two phases. This one, 2027, will be conducted in two phases. The first phase is house listing and housing census, which is the current phase, wherein data will be collected about the house itself, the amenities, what facilities are there in the houses, type of house, condition of house. Second is population enumeration. This will be the second phase where data will be conducted and collected on individual persons, their age, gender, religion, language, migration, etc. Now, this is something new that is happening for the first time, which is self-enumeration. Self-enumeration is happening for the first time. This means that you yourself can put up your data on census online portal. You don't have to wait for a government enumerator to visit your house and put your information or data on this online census portal. You can do it yourself. So this is the first time it is happening, and this is India's first digital census as opposed to all the other censuses earlier, wherein the data was collected on a pen and paper mode. Next piece of news that we have is Drug Rules 1945 Amendment on Cough Syrup. Now, in this news, you'll see Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has amended Drugs Rules 1945, and what they have done is they have removed syrup from Schedule K. Now, what is Schedule K? Under Schedule K, villages which have population less than 1,000, population below 1,000, they could sell these cough syrups without full retail license requirements. But now that syrup has been removed from Schedule K, cough syrups can only be sold through licensed pharmacies and practitioners, even in the small villages. But what is this big deal about cough syrup? It's just cough syrup, right? No, it is not. Why it is important for India is because since 2022, there have been many cases where Indian cough syrup ingredients had some toxic components. For example, ethylene glycol and diethylene glycol, which led to death of many children in Africa and Central Asia. And since then, this has triggered global panic about India's pharmacies, India's pharmaceuticals quality control. The second thing is, there is another component in some of the cough syrups. There is a formulation which has codeine in it. Now, codeine, what it does is, it creates sedation, sleeping-like symptoms. You can sleep with it. And what also it does is, it creates happiness feeling, the feeling of euphoria, mild euphoria. And because of these two factors, that you can probably fall asleep, you can sedate yourself, and you can feel high and happiness and euphoric, this has been misused increasingly. And if it is repeated for a prolonged period of time, this can also cause physical dependence and addiction. And because of all these reasons, it was very important, it was imperative that now strong regulation should be there for cough syrups. Next piece of news we have is from international relations. India assumes FATF Vice Presidency for the first time. Vivek Agarwal appointed as Vice President of FATF, and the term will be July 2026 to June 2027. So what is FATF exactly? FATF is Financial Action Task Force. It was established in 1989 by G7 countries, and its headquarters are in France, Paris. So this is a Paris-based intergovernmental body that sets global standards to combat money laundering and terror financing, along with financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. What does it mean? The finance or funding of making and usage of weapons that can cause mass destruction, such as biological weapons or nuclear weapons, etc. Now, this has a global network covering 200 plus jurisdictions. FATF has two lists, grey list and black lists. What is the difference? Grey list is like a warning that you should be controlling these things, you should be combating terror financing and money laundering, you should make your efforts. If you're not able to do that sufficiently, we'll put you in the grey list. So it is like a warning where the countries are not able to adequately combat these problems. In this case, FATF simply keeps an eye on them, on their finances, scrutinizes their finances. But in the blacklist, what happens? It is for sure that the country is not able whatsoever to combat these problems, and it has not cooperated with FATF adequately or otherwise at all, at any level. So in this case, the country is put in the blacklist, and when a country is put in the blacklist, sanctions are placed on the country. The country is financially excluded. So this is a bit extreme form of grey list. So for a warning, first the country will be put in the grey list, and then if still they're not able to combat these two things, then they will be put in the blacklist. This is very important for your prelims as well as mains point of view. Next is India and the UK CETA comes into force 15th July 2026. India and the United Kingdom announced that Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement CETA will come into force on or from 15th July 2026. So what will happen because of it? There are key highlights. 99% of Indian exports will become tariff-free, that is zero duty access in the UK markets. There's another component to it, which is DCC. DCC is Double Contribution Convention. Double Contribution Convention, if I have to explain it to you in a layman term, for example, there's an IT professional, Indian IT professional who has gone to work in the UK. Now, you must be knowing that all of us, whoever are employed, we pay a price, something at least, for social security benefits like insurance, like employee welfare benefits. So those are social security. Now DCC, what it allows is, let's say if an Indian IT employee has gone to the UK to work, would he be paying for social security benefit in the UK, or he would be paying for social security benefit in India because he is here, his house is here anyway, his family is here anyway, or he'll be paying in both the countries. So DCC, what it does is, it prevents Indian professionals from paying for security benefit in both the countries. And this has increased, this exemption has been increased from 3 years to 5 years, which means in the current scenario, if that person goes to the UK to work, for the first 5 years, he'll be paying for social security benefits in India. And after 5 years, he'll start paying in the UK. But under no circumstances will he be paying in both the countries. Okay. Now, since we are talking about CETA and related concepts are always asked in examination, you should also read about FTA, CEPA and CETA. I'll just give you a brief knowledge about these things. FTA is Free Trade Agreement. Free Trade Agreement is again when the government reduces or removes tariff. When the government reduces or removes tariffs for trade between goods. Trade of goods between two countries. But FTA deals with only the trade, meaning import-export of goods. When we talk about CEPA, CEPA is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. In case of CEPA, you can understand it like FTA plus there will be services included here and investments included as well. So here there will be duty-free, tariff-free trade between two countries in terms of goods, services, as well as investments between two countries. When we talk about CETA, which is there in our news, CETA has the components of CEPA, and along with the components of CEPA, it also has advanced modern trade rules. For example, digital economy. It will have trade rules for digital economy, intellectual property, etc. So you can see in terms of being comprehensive, FTA is less comprehensive than CEPA, and the most comprehensive between all these three, among all these three, is CETA. Let's move on to the next news article. India and Japan joint crediting mechanism under Paris Agreement Article 6.2. India and Japan adopted the rules of implementation for JCM, that is Joint Crediting Mechanism, under Paris Agreement Article 6.2. What is JCM? JCM is a bilateral carbon market mechanism where India and Japan will cooperate on the projects so that their greenhouse gas emission can be reduced. And because they both are cooperating on the projects to reduce greenhouse gas emission, the carbon credits that are generated will be given to both the countries. It supports the achievements of NDCs. What are NDCs? NDCs are nationally determined contributions. Okay, so what are nationally determined contributions? If I have to explain simply, any country which is under the Paris Agreement has made some promises to curb or at least reduce greenhouse gas emission. Those promises can be called nationally determined contributions. So let's say, for example, if I have to give an example of this news to you, let's say India gets financing for solar project from Japan. Because of that solar project, carbon emission will be lowered because coal will be used less. And because carbon emission is lower, the greenhouse gas emission is lower, due to which carbon credits are generated. And because India has lowered its greenhouse gas emission, India will get carbon credit. But at the same time, because it was possible with the help of Japan's project, these carbon credits will also be shared by Japan. So both the countries will share these carbon credits. Okay, so why is it important for India? It is important because this mechanism, what it does is, it will attract more green investment in India. Plus, it will also ensure the transfer of technology from Japan to India. The next snippet of news we have is from Science and Technology. Now, Indian Railways approves Kavach implementation projects to strengthen railway safety infrastructure. The word Kavach, it means shield. Shield is used for protection. So here this Kavach also does something like that. Kavach is indigenously developed, that means it has been developed in India itself. Automatic train protection system. Now what does it protect? It protects trains. How? Let's say the driver misses a signal and he forgets to push brakes. This system will automatically push brake. That will avoid any mishappenings because of human error. It will regulate the overspeeding of train. So by doing all these things, this protects trains and obviously the mishaps that can happen because of human error. Why is this important for India? Because it shows modernization in railway sector, and at the same time, because it is indigenously developed, that means it is produced in India itself. That shows that we are strengthening Atmanirbhar Bharat also. Next is the news from defense. DRDO successful flight test of long-range land attack cruise missile. So DRDO, that is Defense Research and Development Organization, successfully conducted the flight test of long-range land attack cruise missile from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island, Odisha, on 15th June 2026. Now see, all the information that you need is right here. Let's see how. Long range means it can travel to hundreds and thousands of kilometers. Land attack, that means it will attack enemy bases on land, infrastructure on land. And cruise. Cruise is a small pilotless aircraft that is difficult to detect. You can understand it like that. So this is again indigenously developed cruise missile, and it is the Aeronautical Development Establishment, ADE, Bangalore is the nodal laboratory. Again, why is it important? Because it is indigenously developed, so it promotes, what does it promote? It promotes Atmanirbhar Bharat. Next, INS Agray, INS Dunagiri and INS Sanshodhak try commissioning ceremony in Kolkata. So let's talk about them one by one. First, Dunagiri. Okay, let's start with Dunagiri. Advanced Stealth Guided Missile Frigate under Project 17A for multi-dimensional warfare. I know it looks complicated, but let me simplify it for you. Everything you need and you need to understand about this is given right here in this line. Let's see how. Stealth shows that it is difficult to detect. Stealth is used when the warfare is difficult to detect. Next is guided missile. That means it is guided, so it will attack very accurately. It will not miss. Next is frigate. What is frigate? It is a medium-built warfare that moves close to the ground, and again it is difficult to detect. So every information that you need about Dunagiri is right here. Now there is another piece of information here which is multi-dimensional warfare. What is it? Frigate, what does it do? It can work in air, on the sea surface, and also underwater. So it is multi-dimensional. It can work in all those three dimensions. The word Dunagiri is actually a mountain peak in Uttarakhand. So from there we can remember it is talking about peak. So it has to be a peak performer. And for peak performance, what do you need? First, not easier to detect. Second, do not miss the target. Third, built in a way that it works in air, on land, in air, on water surface, and underwater as well. So it is working in all dimensions. So this is peak. And from there you can remember. So all these information have to be about Dunagiri. Next is Agray. The word Agray is a Sanskrit word which means move in the front line, lead the way, move forward and lead the way. So obviously this would be leading the way somehow. It is moving forward, leading the way so that wherever it finds the enemy warfare, wherever it finds the enemy submarines, it will detect them. So it will find them because it's moving forward. It will find them and then neutralize them. So Agray, what will it do? It will detect and neutralize enemy submarines. So this is anti-submarine warfare, and the important thing that you should remember here, it is that it is shallow watercraft, which means it works on shallow coastal water. Next is INS Sanshodhak. Now the word Sanshodhak means researcher or explorer. So this should explore something. And there's another word here, hydro. Hydro means water, hydrographic. You must have heard the word, obviously. This is your subject also, geography. So you study earth there. Here, hydro is water, and you're studying something related to water. And Sanshodhak means research. So you're researching something around or in water, something like that, right? So this is used for ocean mapping and maritime domain awareness. That means it goes and studies sea beds, sea depth, tides and currents, and landforms under sea, everything that is related with that area. So why I gave you the tricks to remember these is because this is mainly for prelims perspective, and there you have to sometimes match the following or just pick the right answer. In either cases, you have to remember these specific details. The names you cannot mess or miss up, which is why I gave you the trick for this particular piece of news. I hope it is clear to you all. Next is economy, and in that the first piece of news that we have is new series of wholesale price index and producer price index, base year 2022-23. Before we understand this piece of news, you have to understand three words: WPI, CPI, and PPI. So WPI, the first word, wholesale price index. This shows the change in prices at the wholesale level. So earlier at the wholesale level, a particular, let's say the particular project or a particular product was being sold at 10 rupees. Now it is 15. So the change in price at wholesale level is wholesale price index, and this shows bulk inflation. Next is CPI, consumer price index. Consumer price index is the change in price or the price that the consumer, you and me, have to pay. This shows cost of living inflation. And the third, which is a new term here, is producer price index. Now, as the name suggests, this is at the level of production or the price incurred for producer. Now, let's have a look at the news now. It says Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade launched WPI. First, it launched new WPI series with base year 2022-23. Like I told you, we are looking at price change, price rise, or obviously it will be price rise in most of the cases. So the price change we are looking at, but for that we need a base year, a baseline. So that base year earlier used to be 2011 and 12. Now they have changed it to 2022-23, and new WPI series have been launched. So earlier there were total 697 items in the basket. Now there are 957 items, and these items include solar, wind, nuclear energy as well. The new term here is PPI, that is Producer Price Index, and it is an umbrella index which includes OPPI, that is Output Producer Price Index, IPPI, that is Input Producer Price Index, and Service Producer Price Index. So what exactly is that? Output Producer Price Index is what are the output prices of producers. Input cost of producer would be input price producer index, and service, as the name suggests, it is related to service provided. So price changes, it tracks price changes in the service provided by businesses. This tracks changes in the output prices of producer. This tracks changes in the input cost incurred by the producer, and this tracks price change in the service provided by business. So this PPI includes services as well. Now WPI will continue for next 5 years. Of course, it will not be vanished overnight. So it will continue for the next 5 years, but then it will be phased out. And this shift aligns with global standards. Now the question arises, why do we need to phase out WPI or wholesale price index? As I've just told you that in PPI we are including services as well. But when we were talking about wholesale price index, here we mostly dealt with goods. So this never gave the clear picture of what exactly is the scenario at production level. What prices are actually incurred by the producers. Okay. Next is Bharat Coal Gasification and Chemicals Limited Coal-to-Ammonium Nitrate project. Now, as the name suggests, here we are trying to convert coal to ammonium nitrate, technical grade ammonium nitrate. Now this Draupadi Murmu and Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone of Bharat Gasification and Chemicals Limited Coal to Ammonium Nitrate project at Lakhanpur, Odisha. This is a joint venture in which 51% stakes will be of Coal India Limited, and the rest, that is 49% stakes, will be of Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, that is BHEL, we normally call it. Investment you don't need to remember, I've just included 25,000 CR. The output will be 0.66 million ton per annum technical grade ammonium nitrate. And the technology used in this will be indigenous. So first it is indigenous, that means it is made in India. Pressurized, fluidized bed gasification technology. Now again, everything you need to know is already there in this nomenclature or terminology. Let's see how. Gasification is sort of a process in which solid fuel, for example coal, is converted into gas without burning it. Solid fuel is converted into gas without burning it. So for example, coal will be converted into syngas. Syngas is carbon monoxide plus hydrogen. This can further be used for generating electricity. And next is fluidized. Fluidized, as the name suggests, comes from fluid. So here in fluidized, what happens? These particles, the fuel particles, the solid fuel particles that we talked about, these solid particles, coal particles or fuel particles, are made to behave like fluid. How? By giving them oxygen and or simply air. Next is pressurized. Of course, this will be done at a very high pressure. So this is the actual process what happens by which coal is converted into technical grade ammonium nitrate. And the completion target is September 2029. Next. Okay, before we move ahead, and don't worry, we have questions also at the end of the session. I've brought 3 questions for you. So before we move ahead, I would take a moment to talk about IAS GS Foundation course that we have here. There are live online classes from Karol Bagh and Noida Center in both English and Hindi medium. There will be 400 plus structured classes, module or subject wise printed notes, 5 mains capsule series books, prelims practice series books, and evaluation of 500 mains answer. See, this is a very comprehensive preparation of prelims and mains altogether. So if you want to join, please call on this number. Okay. Next is environment. So now we have, I think this is the last piece of news that we have for today from PIB analysis from environment, which is Green Hydrogen Certification Portal launched. before I read the news, it's important that you know what green hydrogen is. So when we talk about hydrogen, you'll find three nomenclature: gray hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and green hydrogen. Now, green hydrogen is formed by splitting water. Water is H2O. By splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen. And this splitting is done by electricity. So water is split into hydrogen and oxygen using electricity, and that electricity is generated from renewable energy. So in any part of this process, we are not using coal or fossil fuels. And because we are not using that, the emission, carbon emission here is negligible. So this is the cleanest, pollution-free or cleanest fuel that we have, and that is why it is called green hydrogen. The complete opposite of it is grey hydrogen. Here we use coal or natural gas in the production process, which is why it causes lot of carbon footprint. Not at all useful and heavily polluting. Blue is in which we use fossil fuel for the production of hydrogen. Of course, here carbon will be released, but it is captured. So the best is green, the worst would be grey. Alright, now let's read the news. It says Ministry of New and Renewable Energy launched Green Hydrogen Certification Portal. Why? For transparent certification and compliance in green hydrogen production. It is a part of Green Hydrogen, National Green Hydrogen Mission, and the target would be 5 million metric ton green hydrogen production, 125 gigawatt of renewable energy, 6 lakh jobs, 8 lakh crore investments. 6 states have dedicated hydrogen policies and 7 have integrated these in their already existing policies. And of course, it is important for India. Why is it important for India? For energy security, clean energy transition, decarbonization, and reducing import dependence. Now let's move on to the last part of our session, which is MCQ based questions. I have brought 3 questions for you. One I will discuss in the classroom itself, and the rest 2. One of them is easy, one of them is intermediate level. I'll give you as homework, and I expect you all to answer both the questions in the comment section. And I would love to see how many of you get both of them right. Let's look at the first question. With reference to Paris Agreement, Article 6.2, Joint Crediting Mechanism, consider the following. First, it helps countries achieve their nationally determined contributions. Second, it allows bilateral cooperation between countries for carbon credit transfer. Third, carbon credits generated under Article 6.2 can only be used by developed countries. Now you have to find which of these are correct. Whenever you look at a question, first thing that you should notice is whether they are asking correct or not correct or incorrect. Alright, let's look at the first point. It says it helps countries achieve their nationally determined contributions. If you remember, earlier in this lecture I told you this NDCs are like promises that the countries under Paris Agreement made for reducing greenhouse gas emission. So yes, it does help. The first is right. Second, it allows bilateral cooperation between countries for carbon credit transfer. That is also true, right? Because we studied this news in context of India and Japan. And the last point says, carbon credits generated under Article 6.2 can only be used by developed countries. Is this correct? Of course not, because when I told you about this news, when I was explaining, I told you that the carbon credit generated will be shared by both the countries, and India, unfortunately, as of now is not developed, it is developing country. So this has to be wrong. The correct answer would be 1 and 2 only. Let's move on to the next question. The next question says, consider the following naval platforms commissioned recently: INS Agray, anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft; INS Dunagiri, stealth guided missile frigate; INS Sanshodhak, hydrographic survey vessel. You have to figure out which of them are correctly matched. I told you such questions are asked, and this is an easy question. You just have to remember the factual details. The options are 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, or 1, 2 and 3. This is your homework, and this is the easy question that I was talking about. Next is question number 3. With reference to the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, consider the following statements. It is an intergovernmental body established by International Monetary Fund, IMF, in 1989. It prepares global standards against money laundering and terror financing. Countries placed in FATF grey list face enhanced monitoring but are not subject to sanctions automatically. You have to figure out which of them are correct. I think I haven't numbered them. I'll just number them. 1, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So you have to figure out which of these statements are correct. 2 and 3 only, 1 and 2 only, 3 only, and the last option is 1, 2, and 3 only. So I hope you enjoyed the lecture. We will meet again with another PIB weekly analysis. Until then, take care, and I really hope that you get both these questions right. That's it for today's session. I'll see you in the next class.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.